right, we're back on a Thursday night on Open Line. As promised, we're going to get right to the callers who have been patiently holding as we talk about regulating and promoting safety in the growing transpotainment industry in Nashville. Let's go to line 2. Sam, thanks for holding. What's on your mind?
Regulating and promoting safety.
Sam, just turn the TV set down there, mute your TV, and just talk on the phone so there's not a delay there. Go ahead.
I do. I just hit the mute button.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm a lifetime resident, specifically over in Cleveland Park area in East Nashville.
Yep.
And Dr. Tommy Morton Young used to have a company called Historic Black Tours. And we would go in the area downtown and we would point out different things that were around years and years ago when the Underground Railroad was in part of those buildings that were bombed during the Christmas bombing. I had a tour, and the people, they were enjoying it until we got downtown. The bachelorette bus parties and all of that, they couldn't hear me. I was talking as loud as I could over the PA system.
Sam, let me guess. There were lots of woo, right?
Oh, yeah, the woo-hooers.
The woo-hooers, yeah.
People had graduated from Fisk University, and they knew how this city operated.
Right.
It has lost. We were known for the Athens of the South and its education and history.
Yeah.
I think now we've graduated to the point of the most stupid, ignorant place in the South that you could go to if you want to listen to foolishness. And I had to apologize to the people because of that. And I made up with them to just do some extra stuff.
So Sam, let me ask you, obviously, kind of preaching to the choir here, so to speak, as we've all kind of lamented this, but what do you think we should, other than just maybe, do you think we should just tighten up some regulations and work on this, or ban it altogether? What do you think the solution is?
Well, I know banning it all together would not be popular, but in my opinion, I'd love to see it banned all together because there's 2 Airbnbs 1 street over from me, and they were out here last summer, woo-hooing so loud I could hear them. It's my house on the next street.
Right.
I made a lot of complaints and found out who owned it and sent a letter. But nevertheless, I think there's going to have to be some tightening up. Yeah. Just like the other person said, they passed laws about the volume of music being played on the streets. You couldn't ride anywhere in your neighborhood because I had some friends. I haven't always been 60-some years old. We wanted to play music loud.
Yeah,
but we knew
like
what
T said. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it.
We need to tighten up what we have and stop trying to be the party town that people want us to be. People can move to this place for different reasons. And I'm sure it was not just to be I'm living in the hip city party town. Let's take everybody into consideration because right now it's at a point that our seniors, I have an aunt 90 years old, and she absolutely hates to go anywhere near the downtown area now.
Yeah.
Even just not
lot.
driving. She's in good shape, but she doesn't like to deal with it. And I'm at the point I don't deal with it anymore. But we got to do something.
Yeah.
Something
Sam,
has to change.
thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. You're
welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, so he raised a couple of things, and I'm going to let all 3 of you jump in here, which it kind of reminds me. I just last week was in Savannah, Georgia, getting my son settled in college and walked around. Beautiful town, beautiful city. It's similar in that there's a lot of visitors, a lot of tourism. There's bachelorette parties, but I didn't notice nearly the amount of noise and transpotainment of vehicles, although, they were there. There were lots of like pedal taxis and things like that. I mean, it's a different city altogether. But did you look, Councilman, at other cities, maybe other models, how they're dealing with regulating this industry to kind of shape your proposal?
A little bit, but I think a lot of this work kind of already had been done, right, Roy? I mean, it's like we were talking about earlier.
There's stuff that's already in place that we want enforced.
Right. I mean, most of this problem probably would not have reached this level of magnitude of an issue for so many Nashvillians if we had had clear legal authority this whole time, right? I mean, we tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it till we got it right with scooters in particular. I mean, I think with golf carts, which were happening around the time I first took office in 2015, what we heard was this needs to happen in a contained area, right? We didn't want these things all the way out in the outskirts of deep East Nashville, or, you know, parts of West Nashville or South Nashville, like going into 12 South or North Nashville. It's like, this is an urban convenience. Yeah, we don't mind people going from point A to point B. We have some safety concerns, but that's taken care of through some of the regulatory activity that happened at the TLC. The TLC has done, frankly, a pretty good job of getting the vehicles that they regulate and the numbers of them on the streets and the places they can go and the hours they can operate with. One of the first bills I worked on when I was elected was actually making sure that the TLC, the Transportation Licensing Commission, had the authority to regulate pedal taverns. I think this is fundamentally about just getting to that level. So we've seen other cities, and some of them have done. Some cities never let scooters in the first place. Like I mentioned earlier, Austin took ride sharing completely out of the picture. I mean, there are different levels of severity. And I think, to me, I don't approach this conversation thinking, how can I drive a lot of people out of business? I think, how can we get a lot of people to act in much better faith, maybe not have quite so many operators, and set a performance standard that weeds out all but those that are going to at least look at quality of life. But it's, how do we increase safety? How do we improve quality of life?
Yeah, we don't want the fly-by-nighters, you know. So I'll ask you all, too. We talked a lot about the pickup and drop-off on the periphery. Did you address that in your proposal, and how do we address that, since a lot of these businesses are running out of, you know, more residential areas?
I mean,
if you want to jump in, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I'm reading your legislation, that's really up to the Transportation Commission to kind of decide and figure out how they go about doing that. I don't know if there's specific.
No, I mean,
and if I could add, one thing we have not talked about here is on the noise issue specifically. Is, remember, we have a top-notch high school situated right downtown in Hume Fog. And on Thursdays and Fridays, I promise you could get parents, teachers, and students in here that would tell you that it disrupts their ability to have classes and to do testing and to do those kinds of things with those driving by.
Right. And because, let me point out, Jim, just today I actually came in early and had lunch downtown on the other side, the south side, and had to drive through downtown, and I think I passed, and it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I passed several transportainment vehicles that were actively in use. So you do bring up a good point. This isn't a nighttime issue. This is
it is not. Trust me, they start at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, I know specifically of businesses that are located downtown that have moved or are planning to move their offices out of the area where these go by, because they have a difficult time having meetings, having on Thursdays and Friday afternoons. Now, one thing I do want to note, that there are laws already in place. There are regulations already in place for, if you can hear the noise, if you can hear the music from a vehicle from 50 feet away, they can be subject to citation and fine. You know, I'd love to see. Oh, here's one going by right now.
Yeah, I hear it.
I would love to see, in front of Hume Fog, Metro Nashville Police set up 10 o'clock in the morning writing tickets for these folks as they go by on Fridays.
And Freddie, real quick, go ahead, T. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we couldn't accuse that party bus any better than come by right in the middle while Jim was talking.
Jim didn't
way,
have that teed up. They just went by.
And I will point out that even our reporters who are downtown on stories during the newscast live, it's almost like it just happens every time. As soon as they go on live, here comes one of the, you know, and it's very hard for them to do their work as well.
They come right by City Hall, too.
Yeah. Freddie, let's talk about enforcement then. You'd have to work with the police department, and how would that happen?
Yeah, it's going to be, we're going to need everybody at the table. We've started those conversations, right? If this approach succeeds, right? If we pass this and we, it's lawyer tested and lawyer approved by the time we get done with it, then the Transportation Licensing Commission will have a lot more authority, and they will also participate in some of the enforcement, right? They already kind of have a regulatory framework whereby, you may have noticed a few weeks ago, a lot of the pedal carriage and pedal cab operators went in to look at reconfiguration of the licenses, in some cases an expansion. And the commission, Billy Fields is a great longtime staffer at Metro, and he's got a commission of basically citizen volunteers, and they pretty much denied across the board an expansion of this, basically saying, folks, we got to get our arms around the rest of this. And it's
right.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're all in kind of this same barrel right now, but it's going to start there. But it will need MNPD. It will need the new Nashville Department of Transportation, because they have kind of a traffic enforcement division as well. It will need the district attorney's office, right? It's going to need the mayor's office. So we are trying to get it to the point as we go through this legislative process that everybody understands their role. They understand which pieces can be enforced, which pieces we're going to go talk to state partners further about.
With that, we're going to take one more break here, guys. Our final full segment's coming up. We've got 2 callers on hold. I promise to get to those and more from our guests right after this. Stay with us.